Hello friends, welcome you all to another video, and today I'm going to talk about the classism. You can see on your screen I have opened the Wikipedia, and the Wikipedia I have opened it because you just read something from the Wikipedia, but I'm not going to read out what is you are uh, looking, or what you can see on your screen. You can see the pictures and all these things contain all these things, and you can yourself also read on it. But what is classism in literary criticism? Actually, I'm going to talk on that, and I'm not going to read out anything which you can see. Just you can read out if you want to read, and just to you can see in your before your eyes the word classism. Therefore I have opened this. So the simplest use of the classism, or we can say that there is another name for the classism, that is the neoclassic or neoclassic period, we can say, or neoclassicism. So the neoclassic period, actually it started in England from the restoration 60 and 60, and it lasted until the Romantic period or the outbreak of the French Revolution in 1789. But generally 1785, the year when Dr. Johnson, who was the greatest literary figure of that era in the transition age or the neoclassical age, and also that age is also known of the age of Johnson. After his death in 1785, it is considered that the end of neoclassic period. So we can say that this period spans 140 years. 140 years. So that is the bigger span. And a lot of historians, they have tried to define what is classism or what is neoclassicism. Okay. So we are going to see, I'm not going to talk about the definitions and all these things, which you can already or you can read it here on your screen. You can see the definition and the meaning of the classism. But the 60 and 60 to 70 and 85, there are so many notable writers like John Dryden, Alexander Pope, Joseph Addison, Jonathan Swift, Dr. Samuel Johnson, Oliver Goldsmith, and Edmund Burke were there, and they have introduced such kind of a literature during these 140 years. And through this literature, I have figured out some tenets or some aspects of classism. So one by one we are going to look at it. So features of classism, we can see. So the first feature of classism is a classicness. This is the first feature of classism. So what is the classic? This is the feature of classism. So you can see that the writers which I have mentioned, just Dryden to Goldsmith, all these authors, all these writers exhibit a strong traditionalism. They follow the traditionalism, okay, which was often joined as a distrust of radical innovation. They don't have any trust on radical invention, and was evidence above all in their great respect for a classical writer. They have a great respect for a classical writer. So who are the classical writers? So the classical writers are those writers of ancient Greece and Rome who were thought to have achieved excellence. Okay, those ancient writers of Greek and Rome, they have thought that they have achieved the excellence and established the enduring models in literature, okay, in all major literary genres. And therefore these authors, when they follow the traditionalism, that they have a great respect for the classical writers of ancient Greek and Rome, and they also follow the excellence they have developed, or they have made the endure models in every literary genre, and therefore they were closely following those ancient writers. So therefore they called themselves neoclassic. So all these writers from Dryden to Dr. Johnson, they called themselves neoclassic because of that. So therefore this is the term a classic. Okay, I think you got it. What is the feature of classic? And again, T.S. Eliot has also written one essay, "What is a classic?" and it was published in 1945. So this classic, you can see the classics. Okay, so here also Wikipedia you can read out that. So the second feature of the classicism is natural genesis. Okay, natural genesis, because according to neoclassicism, art for art's sake, that is the Matthew Arnold, he has introduced that term in Victorian age, but actually it started with the neoclassicism. So literature was convinced to be primarily an art, that is a set of skills which, although it requires innate talents, must be preferred by long study and practice, and consist mainly in deliberate adaptation of known and test as means to achievement of forcing ends upon the audience of readers. It means that they believe on the natural talent. Okay, but again, even though they have a natural genesis, they must do lot of study, lot of practice to gain that excellence with the classical writers got. So that is uh, their feature. Okay, and the neoclassical idea founded especially on Horace book. He has written one book, Ars Poetica, that is art of poetry, and it was published in first century BC. He has written that, and it is the craftsman ideal demanding finish, correction, and attention to detail. Special allowances were often made for the unerring and innovative freedom of what were called natural geniuses, and also for felicitous strokes available even to some less gifted poets, which occur without premeditation and achieve, as Alexander Pope said in his in his book Essay on Criticism, which was published in 1711. Okay, so a grace beyond the reach of art, but the prevailing view was that a natural genius such as Homer or Shakespeare is extremely rare and probably a thing of the past, and that to even the best of artful poets, literary graces come only occasionally. So therefore the representative neoclassic writers commonly strove therefore for correctness, was careful to observe the complex demands of stylish decorum, and for the most part respected to establishes rules of the art, and that is the neoclassic rules of poetry were in theory the essential properties of the various genres, and they have made rules for poetry, for epic, for tragedy, for comedy, for pastor, and they were closely following that because they wanted to write down the correctness, and they wanted to make decorum means that the various new words and the rules they were following. Okay, so that is the thing, and that have been abstracted from classical works whose long survival has proved their excellences. Such properties, may critics believed, must be embodied in modern work if this to be excellent and to survive through ages. So in England, however, many critics were dubious about some of the rules accepted by Italian and French critics and opposed the strict application of rules such as the three unities in drama. Three unities, actually, it was introduced by Aristotle in his book Poetics. And which are the three unities? Number one, unity of action, unity of time, and unity of place. These are the three unities introduced by Aristotle. So actually Aristotle had just make a suggestion, but actually the Italian and French writer, they have made it as a rule. Okay, so the rules of poetry, natural genesis, these were the features of classicism. Let's move to the another feature. As I have told you that actually poetry for classicism is the imitation of life, imitation of human nature. And in the previous semester we have seen the John Dryden's definition about literature, about the drama, that how literature or drama is a imitation of human nature. Okay, so that is important, and therefore human being, and especially human being as an integral part of social organization, were regarded as the primary subject matter of the major forms of literature. Poetry was held to be an imitation of life, human life, in common phrase, a mirror held up to nature, and by the human actions it imitates, and the artistic form it gives to the imitation. Poetry is designed to yield both instruction and pleasure to people who read it, not art for art's sake, but art for humanity's sake was the central idea of neoclassical humanism. Okay, so art for life's sake, that was the motto of classicism, that is the motto of neoclassicism. Okay, so let's move to the last feature of classicism, and the last feature was the wit, true wit, that is the sublime. They are using a lot of wit in their literature. So both in the subject matter and the appeal of art, emphasis was placed on what human beings possess in common, representative characteristic and widely shared experiences, thoughts, feelings, and tastes. True wit, Pope said in much quoted passage of his essay on criticism, is what of was thought but never so well expressed. So that is a primary aim of poetry, is to give new and consummate expression to the great commonplaces of human wisdom, whose universal acceptance and durability are the best warrant of their importance and truth. Some critics also insisted it should be noted on the need to balance or enhance the general, typical, and familiar with the opposing qualities of novelty, particularity, and invention. Samuel Johnson substitutes Shakespeare's because while his characters are species, they are all discriminated and discrete. But there was wide agreement that the general nature and the shared values of humanity are the basic source and taste of art, and also that the fact of universal human agreement everywhere and always is the best taste of moral and religious truth as well as of artistic values. So guys, here we have completed the term classicism and its features. So if you have any kind of problems, any kind of queries, you can ask me in comment section. I am there to answer to your questions. So thank you for watching and see you in the next lecture.